And we want to get right to breaking news tonight at 10. A Commerce City police officer is killed in a crash while on duty. Another driver is dead, and a third is hospitalized in life-threatening condition.
Denver7's Addie Guajardo is live at the scene at 10. Addie?
Well, Shannon and Ann, right now, part of Highway 2 north and south is completely blocked off because they're investigating the crash that happened behind us. I want you to take a look. There's heavy police presence. 3 cars were involved in this accident, and all 3 are still out here on the scene as troopers investigate how this incident unfolded. Now, this is what we know so far. We know that there was 2 SUVs traveling northbound, and there was a Ford F-350 traveling southbound. We know that that Ford truck veered into the northbound lane and crashed into those 2 SUVs. One of the officers was in an unmarked SUV. That's the Commerce City police officer. We do know that he was on duty. His body and the body of the other victim is still on the scene. The driver driving southbound that was in that Ford F-350 has been taken to the hospital. Right now, we don't know the extent of those injuries, but right now, joining us is going to be Master Trooper Gary Cutler. Can you give us a sense of how you're feeling right now as this investigation continues?
So we're always really upset with any type of crash that is a loss of life, and especially when it's one of our brothers that was part of that. But what we're going to do is investigate this, and we're going to look into every aspect of what possibly happened, and we're also going to help the families of not only the officer but the other victims here, their families, and help them get through this.
You know, there's a lot of questions as to how this accident actually happened. Do we know if alcohol was involved or anything else at this point, or is it too early?
So it's too early to actually know for sure on that, but what we do is anytime we have an accident like this, we will go ahead and investigate every aspect of it to see if there were any alcohol or drugs involved, one way or the other, where we prove that there was, or we can slide that out that that wasn't the issue and it was another cause for the crash.
At this point, what do we know about that Commerce City police officer?
I really don't have too much information other than he was on duty. He was in a unmarked Commerce City vehicle, and he was on his patrolling.
Well, thank you so much, officer. We'll continue to cover this scene. We know at 10:30, there is going to be a procession as they take the officer to the coroner's office. A very, very tragic scene out here tonight, but we'll continue to bring you the latest details. So make sure to watch us tonight, tomorrow morning, and catch us online for all the latest updates. Reporting live in Commerce City, Addie Guajardo, Denver7.
Sad night. All right, Addie, thank you very much. This ominous shot from Air Tracker 7 this afternoon, that is smoke from the Cameron Peak fire billowing over the metro.
The wind gusts picked up this evening near the Cameron Peak fire, not doing any favors for fire crews who've been working tirelessly since early August to try and get this fire under control. This is the largest wildfire on record in Colorado, burning more than 173,000 acres. It's burning west of Fort Collins and just north of Rocky Mountain National Park.
Recreation in that northern part of the park has been closed since August. Now, thankfully, the flames have not reached the park yet or really come near Estes Park. Highway 34 between Estes and Loveland remains closed.
Again, as this fire grows, we want to put into perspective just how big it is. So we took the burn area and overlaid it across the metro. So far, it has scorched an area bigger than the Denver metro.
Wow, Denver7's Gary Bro joins us from the fire tonight with the latest.
As the Cameron Peak fire continues to burn behind me, more mandatory evacuations are being ordered just in the last 90 minutes. Those living between the Pinewood Reservoir and the Flatiron Reservoir are being told to get out as soon as possible. As the largest fire in the state's history burns, concerns over the weekend loom, much like the smoke above it.
We are essentially having a repeat of what we had earlier this week.
High winds pushed the Cameron Peak fire further east and south over the last few days, increasing the fire by about 28% to more than 173,000 acres.
So the fire started right here, and this map here is showing the progression of the fire. This light or lime green, that's Labor Day weekend. This is earlier this week.
Despite the fire getting closer to major cities like Fort Collins and Loveland, fire officials are looking more south.
We're not concerned about that. We really are concerned about this area here, north of Glen Haven and those communities. Since the fire, the evacuations are northwest of Glen Haven.
Bad conditions forced firefighters to have to pull back in some of those troubled areas on Friday, More than 1,100 first responders continue to fight the fire. Elida Morosco's husband, Wes, is one of them.
Wes my husband, has been here since September.
Morosco drives up from Denver to Loveland as much as she can to see her husband after a long day's work. Morosco stays at the Embassy Suites in Loveland, one of the hotels where Cameron Peak evacuees can find shelter. And while most are checking in, she says the occasional few get to check out.
The other day I was riding up in the elevator and I ran into a couple and the lady said, "We get to go home." I said, "I'm so happy for you." Hopefully we get to see more of that.
The Cameron Peak fire containment went from 56% to 57% on Friday. A small victory for those fire crews working so hard. Officials tell me they are looking very closely at 6 to 9 a.m. on Saturday, where they could see wind gusts as high as 70 miles per hour. Reporting here in Loveland, Gary Brode, Denver7.
And in Grand County, just in the last 90 minutes, mandatory evacuations were issued for the Kenny Creek and Sheriff Creek areas. This is just north of Hot Sulphur Springs. Now, this fire, the East Troublesome Fire, burning northwest of Granby, last check, 7,800 acres. It's not clear what started this one.
Tonight, the Boulder County Sheriff's Office says this man tried to sexually assault a 10-year-old boy in Colorado. Saxith View was arrested in Kansas City, but for years View worked in football camps held by N2 Sports and Mile High Football League around the metro. Back in June, he reportedly drove a 10-year-old from Westminster to a parking lot at Nevin Platte Middle School in unincorporated Boulder County and tried to sexually assault him. Investigators believe there could be more victims. They are asking anyone to come forward to report any incident involving View.
Another day, another record. We recorded 1,300 new coronavirus cases today in Colorado. That beats yesterday's record of 1,100, making this officially the highest single-day increase in cases the state has seen since this all began. Our statewide case count now is above 83,000. And Denver leaders are now implementing some tougher restrictions to curb those numbers. Gatherings now will be limited to just 5 people instead of 10. Masks will be required outdoors if you're with someone you don't live with or when social distancing isn't possible. And for now, rules for restaurants are going to remain the same.
And it's not just Denver. Both Jeffco and Adams County leaders say they too are headed in the wrong direction. And late today, Arapahoe County announced effective tonight it's implementing new restrictions to try to lower the case count. Those include alcohol sales, now ending at 11 p.m. instead of midnight. Personal gatherings are limited to 10 people or fewer instead of the 25-person limit. And non-essential office-based businesses are encouraged to increase telecommuting. Those restrictions will remain in effect through at least November 1st. And in Adams County, spectators are no longer allowed at CHASA-sanctioned sporting events, nor are they allowed at adult recreational leagues. Personal indoor gatherings are also limited to just 5 people, and alcohol sales will end at 10 p.m. And Governor Jared Polis today laid out his plans to distribute a COVID-19 vaccine once one becomes available and is proven to be safe and effective. The plan is to prioritize vaccines for healthcare workers, those working and living in nursing homes, and first responders. Some of those people may even have to wait depending on supply. As more become available, essential workers who have contact with the public would be next on the list. Now, keep in mind, once a vaccine gets approval, it still could be months before states have significant doses to distribute.
All right, back to our top story. Breaking news out of Commerce City. A Commerce City police officer killed in the line of duty tonight. His SUV hit by another car. There was a third car involved. The person in that car also has died. The driver of the truck that hit the officer and the other car is in the hospital. Life-threatening injuries tonight. There will be a procession of area law enforcement at 10:30 to escort that officer. Still, we don't have a name yet. Escort his body to the coroner's office. Stay with us. We'll have the latest coming up.
For me, this has always been about helping to create relief for my friends and my neighbors.
Finding ways to save on health care.
We've cut their insurance in half.
Tonight, we're taking you inside a nonprofit's work to help make your cost of care manageable.
When we align our goals, even if we start from different places, we can achieve a lot.
Fire danger remains at a critical level over portions of our state to start the weekend. Air quality alerts will be in place for the Denver area. We are tracking a front that'll have the potential to bring a little bit of moisture to the region. I'll show you in your full forecast still to come.